What's up, tea people? This is Denny.
And this is James from TeaDB bringing you a springtime episode. Yeah. We got some cherry blossoms. I have my allergies to accompany it. And we are drinking some tea that is labeled as Wuyi tea, but it's from Taiwan. So I think it's more in the Wuyi-style. It's also says it's a black tea here, but it's probably an oolong since Wuyi tea is usually an oolong. Anyways, I'm not really sure. It's kind of a weird tea that combines a couple different genres, and it smells quite strange, actually.
Yeah, and huge rolled leaves in Wuyi-style. Quite dark, also in Wuyi-style, so that could definitely sort of be the leading indicator as to why they're calling it a Wuyi black tea.
Right.
It's also organic. That's, I guess, nice.
Yeah, and so this tea is from Eco Cha, so thank you to those folks over there. We had their dongjing a couple episodes back. And that sort of looks like a Wuyi sort of color.
Smells really good. Smells much more like a black tea.
This smells way more like something I had before now that we have water on it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
In terms of just describing what a Wuyi would normally taste like, a Wuyi would normally taste like. What kind of characteristics would you expect from maybe the smell versus the taste of a typical Wuyi, James? Just so
right.
Folks
I mean, Wuyi is really known for what's called yancha, and I'm probably saying that wrong, but it's literally stands for
rock taste.
Rock taste, yeah.
Yeah.
Or the rock tea is what that stands for.
Oh,
Yan it would be the rock taste.
Got it.
So sort of minerally, they can be really rich. Some of the best ones are really some of the best teas I've ever had. The smell's really nice, and I don't know. For me, it's a good sort of combination of like aftertaste, aroma. I find Wuyi teas very appealing in a lot of ways. So.
Mm-hmm. Let me go ahead and just begin the second rinse here. This is brewing out quite strongly, so I will do quite a bit of much more of a flash brew. And also, I in terms of the leaf amount that I'm using here, first off, never brewed this tea, eyeballed it completely. But because the leaves are larger and because they are twisted, they're just going to take up more volume in the cup. I used about half of the cup full of half of the gaiwan full of tea leaf, and it's remaining about that size, maybe a little bit more, 3/4 of the way full, actually. Yeah, 3/4. Some nice, really big leaves here, if you can see that.
Yeah.
And I'll take that out now. Get my paws all over it. Let's give it a shot.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Sweet. I can sort of taste some of those mineral-y things, but it does taste different than Wuyi tea from the actual Wuyi mountains.
I completely agree that it has a wonderful lingering sweetness. It's not as like acorny and as corn flavor hay taste as like a typical black tea would be.
Right.
I can kind of get a hint of the mineral vibe. The aroma is actually not in stark contrast from the taste of the in the cup, but not quite as, the taste might not be quite as strong as the fragrance of the aroma.
For me, the aroma more reminds me of like either Yunnan Black or Oriental Beauty than a Wuyi tea.
I think it has a strong Oriental Beauty vibe to it.
Where I would get sort of, I feel like the Wuyi tea from actual Wuyi generally has like a more of a roasty, toasty aromatic to it.
It's more floral, maybe sweeter smelling a little bit. Yeah, completely agree. Some of those Wuyis can almost be a little creamy, and this doesn't quite have that. So, second steeping here. Give it a shot.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Light bitterness in this.
Yeah, a bit more of that sort of like maybe a little bit spicy earthiness that actually I feel like black teas can sometimes have. Surprisingly cooling in the mouth.
Yeah.
It's not too strong quite yet. I wouldn't call this like really viscous or thick.
Right.
Even though it's got a good, strong. Well, it's got a nice body to it.
Yeah. Would you say the steep is stronger than the first one?
Yes. And maybe not. No, it has that lingering sweetness.
Yeah.
A little bit more complex.
Yeah, the aftertaste is pretty sweet. There's a little note of dryness sort of on the finish of this tea, but the aftertaste that sticks in your mouth is sort of this, I don't know, minerally, caramely sweetness.
Leave this one a little bit longer just to hang out. The water's cooled off a little bit here as well. And if this ends up performing similarly to a black tea, it is sort of like the third steeping. You want to begin steeping it longer.
Right.
And then the fourth longer and longer, and reboil the water.
So, Denny, let me ask you. So, this tea, well, maybe it's black tea, maybe it's a dark oolong, I don't know. But, so, for brewing this versus something like the Dong Ding where it's rolled, how would that affect how you choose to approach these teas and brew them?
Yeah. Because the leaves, the leaves are rolled instead of, twisted instead of rolled. Was I saying rolled earlier? I might have been saying rolled earlier. I've meant twisted. These are twisted leaves.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to have more surface area to them. They're going to brew out more quickly. And then if this really ends up being like a black tea, it's going to brew out even more quickly. And so, whereas you probably want to maybe begin with a longer steeping for a rolled oolong, especially a roasted oolong, where the vessel you would want to get really hot, and you want to give the tea enough time to open up. This is going to kind of get to the point a little bit more quickly, if you will.
Yeah.
And so as a result of that, we're going to end up brewing it much more quickly.
Yeah.
Flash brew to start probably, and then just sort of gauge as the tea evolves.
Right. Yeah. And one way to brew these sort of Wuyi teas or these twisted teas, generally for me, that's usually just Wuyi oolong teas, is to just load up the Gaiwan 3/4 full even, or I've even seen some people go all the way full, and you just give that like flash steeps right from the get-go.
Yeah.
And you would never do that sort of method for a rolled oolong, for instance.
Yeah, absolutely. Gosh, it has a really wonderful perfumey floral aroma to it. It really does remind me of an Oriental Beauty.
Yeah,
and
right
kind
on.
of
Yeah.
hitting that sort of intersection of sweet and then maybe not smoky, but a little bit earthy, spicy. Pretty good. I'm enjoying it so far.
Yeah.
Let's keep going.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers. So would you categorize this closer to a black tea or to more one of those roasted, highly roasted oolong teas?
It's really hard to say. I'd say maybe 70% black tea, 30% roasted oolong tea.
I agree completely.
I think it's just a little bit more in that category of black tea, and it seems to, I don't know, fit that sort of sweetness category rather than being more roasty and minerally and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think it does have a nice roasted flavor to it. I think it does have that mineral vibe to it, but it definitely also has, unlike one of those sort of minerally, almost vacuum-like taste where it's almost like you're tasting the lack of flavors in some of those Wuyis. This has, I think, much more of a perfumey sweetness, floral, along with those other flavors. So for me, this does taste much more like a black tea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how would this tea do on our most famous test, a Madre test?
I think it would appeal. What do you think?
I think so too. Maybe a nice compliment to something a little bit greener oolong, just to show sort of the variety within that tea genre.
Yeah, totally. And this is a little bit of a genre bending tea.
Right.
I don't know why it's being called a Wuyi, but
it might use the varietal or something like that.
Might, yeah.
I know Taiwan, and it might be processed kind of like it. I know Taiwan is right across from the whatever the ocean sea thing is from China, and you just jump across, you're in Fujian, and Fujian, of course, contains the Wuyi Mountains. So I don't know. The two areas have a connection to it, where tea came from the Wuyi Mountains over to Taiwan. So I'm not really sure precisely what the connection is for this specific tea, but Probably has something to do with that.
It certainly resembles, from a leaf varietal perspective, resembles the Wuyi, and it does seem to be processed similarly. We've definitely had some really darkly roasted Wuyis on the show, and in the cup, this is a little bit of a lighter roast. It looks like
Right.
It definitely has much more of an orange and sometimes a little bit of a green vibe in there. And yeah, I mean, without like the young white fluff that you would get from an Oriental Beauty, I would find that if I was just smelling this, it would kind of be hard to distinguish the two, I think.
Yeah. I actually have some Wuyi right behind here, so we could do a little smell test.
Yeah.
So this is some Shui Xian, which I would say was processed way more charcoaly.
Definitely.
Definitely a huge smell.
Yeah, it has much more of a nutty earthiness to it. And the smell on the dry leaf for this doesn't actually, I feel like, match quite as much the smell in the cup.
Yeah, I totally agree.
So
it's but I think there's a pretty big difference between the smells of both of those teas.
Definitely.
Yeah. Cheers, guys.
Cheers. I'm getting more into those, not quite chocolatey, but a little bit of those more bitter flavors. It's not like mouth puckering in any way from a texture perspective, but
right.
I think we are losing a little bit of the perfuminess of the tea now and getting into a little bit more of the bitter earthiness of it, which I think is enjoyable.
Yeah, and I think this is a nice full brew. There's some sweetness there. I do think from the aroma, I think the aroma is losing a lot of its intensity. I'd only expect this to maybe go one or two more.
I was going to say the exact same thing. Yeah.
So not the tea with the most longevity. I did see that it's a low elevation tea, so that probably has something to do with it.
Yeah, it might be one more reason why it resembles the Oriental Beauty. And I totally agree. This tea is clearly not going to make it like 8 steepings. It's performing much more like the black tea in the cup.
Right.
And while flash brewing it at first was a nice and strong steeping, at this point I would be brewing it, either leaving it for 30 seconds, 45 seconds, and or re-steeping the water too.
Right.
And that doesn't mean anything about the quality of this tea.
Yeah.
Just want to be clear about that. It just is simply a way that, this is performing more like a black tea.
Yeah, and I think there's a time or place for teas that go 20 steeps or something like that, but there's probably a bigger time and place for teas that go 4 to 6 steeps.
Totally. So I think this is really tasty. I think this probably would have passed the mom test for maybe the first 2 or 3 steepings, and then it's kind of changed into something a little bit less agreeable.
I think it's a little bit more challenging to brew than your average black tea. That's one thing I would think with this. I think it takes a little bit more skill because I could actually see this tea getting nasty if you overdid it.
Totally.
Yeah,
completely. I think the amount of leaf that we used is probably pretty good. Again, it was more or less half of the gaiwan full of dry leaf to start, and it's expanded to about 3/4 of the way full. And this might be good iced, perhaps, for some of you folks as well, potentially. I think this is kind of, like we have said before, a little bit of an interesting in-between genres tea. Definitely check it out. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, a nice change of pace for anyone that's into your Taiwanese oolongs or into pu'er.
My Vanna White.
Yeah. Where can someone...
check out Eco Cha. So eco-cha.com. This is the organic Wuyi black tea. I'm assuming it's from this year. 2016. Oh wow. Okay.
So maybe that's the reason, another reason why we're not getting a ton of roast is it's just been rested for a while.
This is quite lovely. Definitely a unique tea. If you do like the sort of family of Oriental Beauty style oolongs, this might be something that would be up your alley.
Yeah,
also,
absolutely.
if you're into black teas, this would probably be a solid one too.
Yeah.
Thanks to Eco Cha for shooting this over to us to give it a taste. And if folks want to learn more about tea in general, James.
Yeah, they should hit the subscribe button down below.
Otherwise, you can't learn about tea.
Yeah, you're not allowed to. Don't look up anyone else. join the TeaDB Tea Cult. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. We are releasing weekly videos, sometimes twice a week. Check us out at tdb.org, where you can check out our videos as well as some article content.
We're also on the Instantgram.
Yeah.
Check us out on the Instantgram.
The Instantgram. Yes, please do. We are also on the Facebook.
Yeah.
And you can find us from all these places using the Google.
The Google. Way to go. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks again, T-Nerds, for following along. And we'll see you all next time.
Cheers.
Cheers.